so this is my JCM 800. It's a 2203 model that I got in, I think, 2011. I got it from Marshall that year, brand new. They made me this really nice baffle to go on the front. I just like the look of the aged ones, and this doesn't look aged, but it just looks really cool, which is good. Right, so it's been modded by Dan Gower from Billericay in Essex, and he's been modding amps for years now. He's still very young, he's still in his mid-20s, but he's awesome at what he does, and he's obviously done these two amps for me now, completely sort of custom to what I asked for, and ludicrously, in my opinion, ludicrously cheap for what you're getting, which is essentially a brand new amp. So yeah, he's sort of worked closely with Mike Fortin. A lot of you guys who know about modded amps will know Mike Fortin's name, and he sort of was Dan's mentor and does a lot of similar work or similar mods here in the UK, because obviously Mike Fortin's based in America. So he really does know what he's doing. I can't recommend him highly enough, and yeah, he sort of changed the sound. This was the first one that I got him to mod for me. Well, I've only ever had these two modded, but this was the first and main one. So this amp, like I said, I had it since 2011. It was my main amp. It's been on a few albums now. Used it to record, like, we did all the rhythm guitars for Monolith on this, and a lot of the solos. On the front, as usual, I like to keep it looking bone stock, completely stock and normal, so people can't tell that it's modded, which I did sort of want to keep secret, but I just ruined that now by doing these videos. So basically, you got the normal presence, bass, middle, treble, master and preamp, which is standard for a JCM 800 on the front. Basically, what's different on the front panel, the only thing is the master volume has push-pull, and basically when you pull it out, it activates like a new gain stage. It considerably drops the volume, kind of attenuates it, and you get a much tighter sound as well as a lot more gain. But it does drop the volume. So normally when I've got it out like this, which is all the time pretty much for me, I have the gain on about 6, and it gets quite loud quite quickly. My settings normally for the amp probably look a bit like this. So I've got, I'll probably have presence on about 5, it depends on, I don't know, the cab I'm using at the time. Bass I normally have on about 7, or between 6 and 7. Mids, I kind of keep them quite low because Marshall kind of has like quite prominent mids, and we play in standard E. So I think a lot of people have gone for this whole kind of modern guitar sound and like loads of mids, which I think a lot of people are going overboard with mids these days. A lot of people like in the 90s were scooping all their mids, had horrible tones, and then people realised that more mids was better, but I think people have gone too far with the mids now, and you don't need that much, and it always depends on the tuning that you're in. So I mean, in standard E we can go for more of a scooped kind of tone. I have the treble quite low, I like it to be quite dark sounding, and like I say, the gain on about 6. So we'll turn it around and I'll show you the back and what's different on there. Right, so on the back, it's pretty much completely stock, apart from this one control which is new, which says death on it with 2 skulls, skull and crossbones either side of it. I didn't ask Dan to do that, but he did it, and that's fine. That's completely fine. It's essentially a depth control or a resonance control, and it can add a huge amount of resonant low end. It's not the same as bass. It's what gives you that chunk that kind of really grounds the amp and to the floor, and like you get that swell. It's not like turning up the warmth that a bass control kind of does. This really gives you a lot of power and warmth and pushes a lot of air. Like there's more than enough on here, so I in fact I needed to sort of back it off a little bit sometimes, because when I chug sometimes it goes super loud. So I normally have that on about 6, and it's got a effects loop, speaker outputs, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, so this has got Dan's little sticker on the back, modified by Dan Gower, Dan at dangoweramps.co.uk. Really great guy, really great to work with, really reasonable prices, and I couldn't recommend him highly enough. And he'll also, which he didn't have to do it for me, but if you want a modded Marshall, if you want something like this, he can help you pick one out on eBay, advise you on buying the amp if you're buying, like with this one, which is a 77 one. I didn't need him to help with this, actually no, I probably did run it by him first, but he can advise you on what amp to buy and what amp he can mod and can't, because some amps, like some of the Marshall 2205, I think, the dual channel 800s with the clean channel, like some of them can be hard to mod and all sorts. So it's best to check with him if you're going to buy one to be modded, but you can get an old Marshall really cheap. It doesn't even have to be in great working condition because he can replace a lot of the parts. Check his stuff out, and I'll do some clips of the tones of this amp now. Right, so I'm using my Les Paul, which is just going straight into the amp, no pedals, no noise suppressor or anything, and this is how it sounds. Alright, so at the moment I've got the master volume pot pushed inwards, which is just the normal kind of gain setting. It's still got kind of enough gain on there. That's with the volume pot in, the gain on full. I'm going to pull the pot out, which is going to kick in the extra gain stage, so I'm going to back it off, and you're going to hear the volume drop as well. Right, so this is the back of the amp. Everything's completely stock as it was when I bought it, apart from this one control. So again, this is a stock 2203 reissue, and yeah, it already comes with an effects loop, and yeah, this is the added depth or resonance control that Dan's called Death. But right, so I'll play around with it now.